Ready Check Radio. What's up, Internet? I missed that music. But it's playing now. That means it's Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern, and it's time here on Ready Check Radio for the Relic Grind, our Final Fantasy XIV Square Enix podcast. I'm your host, Mike Byrne, as always, and welcome back. Happy New Year to everybody. I hope you're enjoying this. We got a great show for you today. Whether you end up joining us live, twitch.tv/ReadyCheckRadio, or you're listening on Spotify or YouTube, take a moment, head on over to ReadyCheckRadio.com. All the socials are in the upper right-hand corner. You can click on those bad boys and support us by following us on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, all those good things. iTunes and Spotify now. Yeah. Before we went out for the holidays.
All the things.
Got off my lazy ass and finished the iTunes integration. So we're done there. Next up, Audible. However, I'll let you know when that is. Still working on some things for that one. But yeah, we appreciate it. If you could go like, follow, support, all that stuff. It's free. Take a minute, comment, feed the algorithms, tell your friends. We have a lot of fun doing this, but if nobody's listening, then we could just do this on the phone with my buddies here, Mr. Chris Montoya, a.k.a. Tarkoth. What's up, sir?
Greetings, programs. Happy New Year's to everyone. Now, fighting the weather, got 2 feet of snow, fighting the corona back, trying to push that back. And looking on the lodestone, I can't find where they posted about this Konami, crossover that we have. Crazy. It's awesome, but it's crazy. We didn't have any announcement.
Wait, what? Yeah. What are
We'll
you talking about?
We'll get into it.
This Konami crossover. See, now I'm a little confused. You said Corona, so are you feeling under the weather?
Yeah, I got the COVIDialicious, so it's...
Yeah, see, I misunderstood. You sent me a Discord message yesterday, and I thought you told me that you had my Sharona. I just glanced at it.
You gonna start the new year out like that?
I just glanced at it, and I was like, well, all right.
My Sharona.
All right, Tarkoth's got my Sharona. I don't know what the hell's up with that guy. I'm busy. I can't type this back right now. Well, obviously, we hope you feel better. You feel better.
Yeah,
not fun.
Got the vax, so it's not as bad as it could be. I'm sure it's Omicron, which is mild.
Yeah,
but
go get fucking vaccinated, people. Don't be stupid. Go get vaccinated. Also on the line, Mr. Adam Lane, the Kronos himself. The Coronos?
No, don't do that. That was the name before that existed.
Coronos 411, baby. It's the next strain.
No, don't do that.
How were your holidays, my friend? Happy New Year.
They were good. Yeah. I got to ring the new year doing some raids. So it's a lot of fun. And my Christmas was good. So hope you
did you get everything you wanted from Santa? I see a nice, sexy poster in the back there.
That's my mom gave me 2 posters, actually. There's an endgame one, and if you look to the other side, there's a Civil War one, too. I'm going to hang him up at some point.
Nice.
That's awesome. Awesome. Any other cool gifts? Any other gaming-related gifts or Final Fantasy stuff? Not
really. I just got to hang out with my twin nieces and give them gifts. So that was probably the best part, to be honest.
I got a shit ton of Star Wars stuff.
Nice.
Yeah. It was mainly my brother. My brother Lou, who you've seen on this channel or heard on this channel, who was like, I don't understand. Your wife and kids say you're hard to shop for. I kept finding things I knew you were going to want. I was like, you don't need to get me anything. And he was like, oh, no, you don't need any of this shit. He was like, but you're going to get it. Then I also got, you may notice behind me here, a new DX Racer chair in Ready Check Radio's colors. It was time to retire the other one. Although Torchwick is using it for a little while, but now we got the red and black. God, my headphone cable. Anyway, we got the red and black DX Racer chair. So yeah, all in all, good Christmas, good New Year's. It's good to be back though. It's always nice to have a little time off. Like you don't have to rush, and you're like, all right, we don't have the podcast tonight. I could just maybe play some Final Fantasy or play some other game because the queues are annoying, and it's always nice. But I don't know about you, I always like coming back. And of Kronos, you kind of already teed it up for us, so I guess we'll start with the biggest piece of Final Fantasy XIV news to happen in the last 14 days, and that is, of course, the Pandaemonium raid, the 8-person raid, the first 4, just as always, right? All of you Final Fantasy XIV players, you don't need us to describe this for you, but for those of you that are maybe newer to the game, this is kind of the way our raids are introduced in 4 waves or cycles or fights or whatever, however they word it, turns, 4 turns of Bahamut back in the day. So we've got the first 4 wings of the Pandaemonium raid open. There may be story spoilers here discussed. It's not incredibly in-depth as far as A, what we've seen so far, and B, its implication in the main story. I know, Kronos, you kind of said in a tweet or on Facebook, I don't remember which, that you kind of had an idea of where they're going with this story. I feel like if you look back in Shadowbringers, Eden was a lot more pertinent to the main story quest than I think Pandaemonium is going to end up being, and that may just be a byproduct of 6.0 being the end of the Hydaelyn Zodiark story, but of course Pandaemonium is going to continue through .x a couple of patches.
Yeah, I think though it is a little obvious that there's got to be some Ascian stuff here. Well, I mean, before they were Ascians, right? Like,
it's in Elpis, so
yeah. So yeah, I mean, I have a good idea of like where they're gonna go with stuff. Like, I think I have a good idea like his mom, like what his mom might end up being. Because we're following Eric. I'm just gonna call him Eric. His name's Eric.
Yeah,
Eric
that's
Raid. Right. And I think I'm kind of curious to see like where La Habrea comes into play. If I have a strange feeling, I don't know. It's really weird that like Themis wears a white robe, but we'll see. I mean, I don't know. It's it might be it could be Elidibus. It's possible. Because we don't know his real name.
Like Elidibus before he joins the convocation.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So I mean, white robes don't seem to be very common. I don't know. That's just kind of where my head was at. It could be completely wrong.
Yeah. So who else have we seen in white robes? Obviously we saw who later becomes Hydaelyn in white. But who else have we seen? Like, am I missing somebody off the top of my head?
I think just Elidibus and Vana. I think
Elidibus. Yeah.
So.
We shall see. These ones are circles. First circle, second circle. Blah, blah.
Yeah. The other thing
circles
too
of hell,
is
if you want to interpret that.
Yeah, he repeats himself a lot too. Elidibus does that in like his text, and Themis also does that. So yeah, that's kind of like I could be like overthinking it though, but that's kind of where my head's at.
I kind of don't lean that way because at the end of Warrior of Light, it kind of seemed like he was more of a child in that function, and I think Themis is a little bit too old to fit that. Maybe a little retcon, I don't know. But yeah, it's interesting so far.
Yeah, and we had Savage come out too just a couple of days ago. We'll get to that more specifically in a moment, but let's talk about the experience, right? The first circle, you're gonna call him just Eric. That's fine. But Eric Thonios is the first boss. What'd you guys think? We're
just talking about normal at the moment.
Yeah, just normal at the moment, because that's the piece of content that most viewers are going to be familiar with. We'll break into Savage in a few minutes, because some of us may have cleared it, some of us may have taken attempts at a few circles and aren't quite through all 4, and we'll get a status check on that in a second. The world first race is over. It was over less than 24 hours before it began. We'll also get to that. But as far as the content goes, like, I wasn't disappointed. It would be unfair to say I was disappointed. I enjoyed the fights. I thought some of them were better than others, and that's going to always be the case. Like, you'll have your favorites and everything. But I just feel like Eden started a little stronger as far as interesting fights. Setting the narrative aside, I think I'm going to enjoy this narrative more than Eden, just because I do enjoy the Ascians and the gameplay there. Through the convocation and the narrative and stuff like that there, then I was really invested in Eden. I did enjoy Eden, but I think I'm going to like this narrative better. But from a fight standpoint, like this first fight was a lot of, hey, do you know your left from right? And can you see when somebody is swinging a big-ass chain? Okay, cool. Awesome. Great job. Do you know your opposites? okay, cool. You'll be fine. So the first circle just kind of, all right, if you're using it to kind of just get people into what you're going to do, okay. But I feel like for those of us that have been here for a while, this one was pretty, like, I didn't wipe. I didn't watch a guide, but first time in, Duty Finder, it wasn't even with friends. We one-shotted it. Just done. And I know that the normal content's always going to be easier, right? It's not tuned to beat the hell out of you. But I just look back at like Eden and some of the older ones, and it was like there were a few wipes in there. There wasn't here, I think, until the Phoenix third circle. Third circle was the first time I had a Duty Finder group wipe. What are you guys thinking so far?
I enjoyed it. I thought it was a decent intro into an expansion. That's kind of how I view it. Introing, difficulty and then ramping up. And I think, and we'll bring this up with Savage, that I feel the difficulty does ramp up and starts at a good place to get your feet wet and get into some raiding content. And hopefully, with the more people, we get some more Savage Raiders with this too. But I think it was a good starting point. I liked it.
I think what was weird, I agree with you, it does ramp, but it ramps and then falls off. Like, I think Phoenix is harder than Hesperos, who is the fourth circle. I thought the Phoenix fight, it reuses some mechanics from earlier raids, just kind of in a little bit of a different way. But Kronos, I don't know about you. I felt like it did ramp. It was like 1 was, easier than 2, which was easier than 3, and then 4, very cool fight. I mean, he looks like Dracula from Castlevania, and exactly like that is. I want that to be my character. I want to.
It'll be in the cash shop. Don't worry.
Fantasia myself into the right race and vampire teeth and all. Hesperos looking like Dracula. And I really thought like the cape stuff was creative with that fight. I liked that whole style of just the visual cosmetics of
New presentation
of the fight going. Yeah, the presentation of the fight I thought was really cool. But mechanically, I thought it was a lot easier than Phoenix was, particularly with a Duty Finder group.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can see that. I guess it's really because Phoenix like just stacks you with vulns. Like you're eventually
over and
die,
over.
keep messing up. But Hesperos, like he'll kill you. Like if you fail a mechanic, you're probably just dead.
Yeah.
Which I guess it's a little different. But like you said, like maybe mechanically, you don't have to be as fast with Phoenix. You got to be pretty quick on some of the mechanics, or you're gonna eat a vuln. So melees, I'm sure, and tanks. I've seen a lot of melees and tanks eating a lot of vuln stacks.
Phoenix, unlike Eric, if you're not paying attention to left and right, you forget it. You're not making it out of it.
Yeah, some Final Fantasy players have trouble with left and right. Let me tell you.
Yeah, Eric, you have a good 8 to 10 seconds of him swinging that big ass chain on the left hand side to know to get away from left hand side. Phoenix is just like, we're going left, and we went left. Boom, you're hit if you aren't watching.
Yeah, Eric is like Tark said. I think it's a good entry. He's a training dummy fight, right? Like for a seasoned player, you like you said, you just go left, right. Stand on this color, stand on that color, hit the boss. So it's more like for newer players. I feel like to learn to do a fight and do their rotation at the same time. So it's kind of nice to like have that. And it did make me a little worried for the Savage, but we'll talk about that in a second. But
that's kind of my concern. This isn't the first raid to the game. This isn't Binding Coil of Bahamut.
But you have new people though, right? Like you have people coming in.
Right, but do you create your end game raid content catered to your newer crowd at the expense of the... It's not like Final Fantasy was this small niche MMORPG that all of a sudden 6-8 years in exploded for no reason. It has always been big. Your new influx of players is great, fantastic, except for the queues, but it's fantastic for your game. But you had hundreds of thousands of active players and millions of accounts prior to that. Do you really build raids, the kickoff raids in your expansion to cater a little more towards the newer players? I don't think so. I don't think you should, at least.
And that's where I think that having a normal mode separate from Savage benefits this. You have that starting off point, and we have all these new people that this is going to be their first raids situation. So having normal is a benefit in this regard to bring these people along a little bit, smoothly. And for those that have been playing, know what Savage is about, they've been getting that difficulty. And I've been seeing on Twitter, one of the best raid tiers that they've had. And apparently the difficulty just goes up and up and up. And I feel this first Savage is pretty good, actually. I really like the difficulty.
And no doubt, I'm not advocating for normal to be, barrier hard. That is not what I'm advocating here for either. But literally, Prismine saying that they wiped on second circle because of the heads and water mechanics. I could see that. Maybe my group just happened to get lucky the first time. The heads mechanic, I actually really don't like the way that that's implemented. And I imagine again,
it's all about presentation, where the fourth one, the presentation was good, where the head and body mechanic, you're just kind of, what's going on? Okay. Now I get it.
Yeah, you really end up having to look at the targeting circles, but the targeting circles changed colors and aren't really nice colors for being able to visually see that facing arrow quickly in some cases, which is exacerbated a bit on Savage, by the way. Because you have less time to react to that mechanic. So that's not ideal for me. So all in all, I do enjoy it, Kronos. I don't know. I felt like it was easier than past normal raid tiers, and I don't know if I really like that. One, you have an established audience, and two, the big audience that you brought on is a lot of MMO veterans from other games.
That's true.
We didn't pick up a bunch of people that have never touched MMOs in their life. We picked up a lot of MMO vets, whether they're raiders or not, who knows, set that aside.
Yeah, it's just, this is their formula, right? And
it is.
This game, for better or for worse, is very formulaic. And so
we're going to talk about that in a second too, because a lot of WoW people are getting to the point now where they've caught up to the formula.
Yeah.
And are maybe thinking this isn't great. This isn't great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think if you go back, right, like Gordius, for example, is kind of an anomaly. And I think they started really figuring it out in Creator at the end of that expansion. And since Stormblood, this has kind of been their formula where it's like the first raid tier is always going to be slightly easier, just to try to get people into, like, get their feet wet. Because I mean, there are a lot of people in this game that just go through the story, or like maybe they started at the end of Shadowbringers and they didn't do any of the raids, but now they've done this with everybody, because a lot of people wanted to have that experience of like doing the expansion as everybody was doing it, and they've never done raids. So this is like to get their feet wet, I guess. I do agree with you to an extent. Like I mean, it's basically like, do you know how, like, can you like touch your toes? Like that's like the first fight.
Yeah.
But I mean, sometimes I don't know. Sometimes I like dummy fights because I could just like kind of.
Do you have a red circle or a blue circle? And do you know where the other color is on the map?
yeah. But I mean, but that's just always been their formula, and I'm sure the next set will be harder.
I really, difficulty aside, Hesperos is my favorite fight.
He's really cool.
Oh yeah.
And
the music.
Like,
oh my god, the music.
Oh, the music.
What the hell is this?
Phenomenal.
And it's like, I'm actually kind of digging it.
I mean, first off, you got me with the character design. I was like, yep, I'm in. Yep. Let's do this.
I was worried, right? Because we knew, like, I feel like a lot of the nostalgia grab stuff is a bit gone. So all this stuff's going to be new, right? Like, these bosses are just in 14. So I was kind of worried about that, because I feel like a lot of people enjoy the raids based on nostalgia. And I thought it's really good. The fights are a lot of fun. And for me, when I go in, I try to think about it like, okay, what are they going to change in Savage? And so I was really excited about 2 specifically because the arena is so different. And I was worried about 1. I was worried about 3 too, but for different reasons, more like PTSD type stuff. And then I'm excited to do 4 as well.
So let's talk about that then, Savage. Where is everybody? I am not rating with a static. So yeah, don't look for my progression to be with on par with you guys. So Kronos, we'll start with you. Are all 4 done? Are you still progging a circle? Where are you at?
So we've been in for about 5 hours now, I think. We've killed the first 2 fights, and we're about 50% of the way through Phoenix.
And by the way, we're just calling that Phoenix. Phoenix.
Yeah, Phoenix.
Yeah. No.
Phoenix
is stupid.
Phoenix.
It's Phoenix. It's Phoenix. Even in Happy's original guide, he's like, yeah, it's Phoenix. So you're, excuse me, third circle.
Yep, third circle right now.
Tark, what about you? Has your guild had a chance to, or your free company had a chance to get in there at all yet? Is that a only weekends thing for you? I don't quite remember your schedule, and it'll be coming up this weekend. Where are you?
Yeah, we Tuesday, Thursday, Sundays over at Tarkoth Gaming here on Twitch.
Jesus, the dude plugs for days. He plugs for days.
And we are still banging our heads on the first one. I wanted to assert my, opinion, but with Corona, I was like, just guys make a decision and I'll just go with you. It's whatever. So I'm just trying to heal and not F things up while, fighting this ugliness. So
I got 103 fever. I'll cure the shit out of you. Don't worry. Don't worry. I got you. We do have world first confirmed. Yoshi P tweeting out this lovely image congratulating thoughts per second for achieving world first. We have first, second, and third all clocking in less than 24 hours. The Savage Raids did not even make it 24 hours. So a couple of notes on the Savage World First race here. Thoughts per second takes it. Frosty, if you watch Frosty's content, Frosty and team over there doing all the streaming and everything, they raised over $28,000. That includes the stream revenue that they made. They throw their own stream revenue onto the donations. Nice. They raised $28,000 plus for Extra Life for Kids. So huge kudos to Frosty and team. We love you. We love you. We love you. We're big fans.
Help the kids, absolutely.
And that is absolutely incredible. And no, you cannot get this sweatshirt. Well, you can't get the real sweatshirt anymore. Lots of people in the tweets were asking where can they get the King Chocobo sweatshirt. That was a Square Enix thing a couple years back on the store. It's not even on the store anymore, let alone on the store and unavailable. You can get knockoffs. The knockoffs I've seen, actually, most of them print the thing on the back, not the chest. So, but yeah, so if you were looking for that awesome sweatshirt, that awesome hoodie, you cannot get that anymore.
Sad face.
Yeah. Were you surprised that it took less than 24 hours, Kronos? I'm going to admit I wasn't. Because playing through the normal and then just starting with the Savage, the Savage was going to be harder, but I didn't expect it to be so exponentially harder in this first round of Pandaemonium that it would take longer than 24 hours. And honestly, I'm kind of surprised when any segment of a Final Fantasy raid Savage goes beyond the 48-hour mark anymore, because the teams that are competing for those world firsts are just so tuned, so good, so just they have it all down that it really takes serious mistakes before, if something's going to go longer than 48 hours. So I wasn't surprised, but I like seeing when the content does go 3, 4, 5 days, even though it very rarely does.
Yeah, I'm on the other side of the fence on that one, to be fair. But yeah, I mean, this is, again, formulaic, right? Titan died about the same amount of time. This took a little longer than Titan, not very much longer. And then I think Shiva took a little, almost 2 days.
Almost
not
2 days,
quite.
yeah.
I think it was like 36 or something. And then I want to say 12 was about the same. So it'll ramp up again, right? Like, this is not anything that hasn't happened before. I mean, I'm pretty sure if you want to even go back to Stormblood, like, it was killed even faster than this. So yeah, I mean, this is just how it works, right? I didn't expect this to take. I thought it would actually probably be dead before it was. But I think the last fight is a toughie. So, and the third fight is kind of tough too. Like I was saying before we went on live with Tark, this is the first time I feel like in a while as a Savage tier where the difficulty has actually ramped up. There's always been kind of like a little bit of like a bell, right? Where you had like E1, and then you had like E2, and then you had like Leviathan, and then you had Titan. And then if you want to even go to like the verse is really weird because you had like Ramu, and then E2, and then E3 or E7 is like way down here. Birds is like one of the easiest fights I've ever seen, and then Shiva is like one of the harder Savage fights. So this is the first time where I feel like they finally got the difficulty curve right, which is actually good, I think, for newer groups as well. So it's a really good tier. It's a lot of fun, at least so far. I just want to go back in.
Yeah, it's a raid. I guess this is the best compliment I can give it, right, Tark? it is a raid that I'm not going to mind taking my alts into normal to go grab some gear real quick. And I think that's like the biggest compliment you can give one, right? Like when you are totally done in there in normal or savage, doesn't matter. But if you are totally done running normal for your main character for the gear, you very seldom really, some raids you're just like, if you queue up and you get them, you're like, oh God, should I leave? Do I need this badly?
When was the last time I ran this?
Yeah, exactly. I don't remember half these mechanics. But this is a raid that at least right now, and maybe the luster will wear off as the weeks go by, but there hasn't been a single time I've run my 4 every week since it came out for different gear pieces and stuff like that, and there wasn't a single time where I was like, oh, shit, yeah, that's right, I got to knock that out this week. Granted, we're only 2.5 weeks in, so rose-colored glasses, but I enjoy the aesthetic enough that I don't think this one's, like, I'm already looking forward to taking my white mage in there. Yeah, I just said that. My white mage. Whose white mages aren't in the best of spots right now to begin with. As
white mages.
Hashtag fix white mages. 2, I don't generally heal raid content. I usually just keep it leveled up for mentor status and to take friends through stuff anyway. And my white mage is like 20% away from 90 with all the, 570 pieces just sitting in my bag waiting for it. So we'll off and away we'll go. I have no problems doing that. I enjoy it. I really do. I love Hesperos. I love that fight. I really do. Like I was sitting there calling shit out. I was like, you know what? I go into Duty Finder and I'm like, whatever. I say hi maybe, and that's it. And I'm just like, let's do this. And if we die and we wipe, I don't care. I'm not the guy that's bitching in chat. But I'm also not like, rah, let's do this in chat either. I'm just like, all right, let's play. But I found myself like, all right, just sitting there calling shit out like Mr. Raid Leader. I was like, fuck it. You know what? Nobody's going to call this out. 4 newbies are here. I like this fight enough. I'm going to call it out. Stack center. Get ready for knockback. Stack corner. I was like, yeah, you know what? I like this. I like this place. I totally want all that glamour. I want all
it's
of
gonna
that.
Be cash up. It's gonna be cash up.
It's gonna be, yeah. Gonna be. I want to walk around looking like Dracula. This did kind of exacerbate a conversation that if you're watching Reddit and things like that, though, it's already been going on. This conversation started weeks ago, and it's just kind of been building momentum. And how fast Savage went down, the fact that it is a relatively known guild that did WoW raiding. Now, granted, they weren't like, we're not talking like world first WoW raiders or anything, but they were known for doing WoW raids and things like that prior to Nathria. Thoughts per second. Has kind of exacerbated a debate going on now, and I want to get your guys' take on it. Now that longtime WoW heads, when they first came over to Final Fantasy XIV, they obviously had a game and 3 expansions to go through. That's a lot of content.
Yeah.
There's a lot of side stuff to do. There's a lot of this. There's a lot of dungeons. There's a lot of stuff. But now those players are catching up or are caught up, at least MSQ-wise, max level-wise, and kind of finding out what we have always known, that yes, we do get our patches every 3 to 4 months, COVID aside with the expansion launch, 3 to 4 months, but you're going to have 2 expert dungeons that cycle in and out. You're going to have 1 active raid series, and if it's the odd patch, you're going to have the Alliance raid instead, right? Or the even patch, sorry. And that's basically your end game content. Those 2 dungeons and whatever the active raid series is. If it's the Alliance raid, there's just the 1 difficulty. And if it's the 8-person raid, you'll have a Savage difficulty. Setting ultimates aside, because they wouldn't have experience with current ultimates right now, because we have no ultimates in Endwalker yet. It's kind of led to some debate on, hey, you know what? Yeah, getting that patch every 3-4 months is great and all, but Jesus, your endgame sucks, 14 players. Your endgame's very limited. Your endgame is just a smattering of things that you can do if you want to actually progress a character, progress a gear score, get new loot. If you want to go do side stuff or level alts, fine. There's plenty of that shit to do. But if you're not into that, you're just all about playing that one character and building up, you got 4 or 5 activities to do once you get to endgame and you are at max level and max current eye levels. WoW does this better. Whether that's through its mythic rating system to increase the difficulty, whether that's through its mythic process with dungeons, making all dungeons in an expansion always viable for you to be running rather than just the 2 most recent, etc., etc. I want to get your take first, Kronos, on how you feel about this whole debate, because I know we've touched briefly, the 3 of us, on, not only could they do dungeons themselves better, but yeah, we don't like being pinned down to just having really 2 active dungeons going on at any given time. So what's your take on the whole debate? How do you fix it? Where do you go? Should Final Fantasy consider changes? I know none of us have been exactly for the mythic system coming to 14, but a way to make older dungeons, at least the current expansion's dungeons, viable throughout the entire expansion for some reason. Should something be done here, or do we just stick to the every 3 or 4 months you'll have 2 dungeons and go?
So there's a couple things I want to touch on. So first, Final Fantasy, like in-game, it's not really about reaching, it's not really about getting your character power up to
No, glamour's the true endgame. We know.
Yeah,
well,
absolutely.
so to me, that's true. But like in-game in this game is kind of like what you define it as, like whatever your in-game is, right? Like your in-game could be Bozja, right? Like some people might just want to go into Bozja every day and do Bozja and try to level up, try to get all their valors or whatever. Savage
the true
Raid
endgame is minions.
Yeah, for you, right? Yeah,
This is
exactly.
also
Like
true.
you're collecting minions. I collect mounts. Like mounts are a big part of my in-game for sure. But Savage is tuned
You'd
around.
be proud of me. I picked
people-
up like 6 mounts this last week.
Nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
Catching up.
I picked up like 12 minions, 12 or 15 minions. So
You got to get the new gold cactuar from the treasure map too. It's pretty cool. Or you could just buy them for like 6 million.
Yeah, no luck so far.
But no, it's like Savage is tuned around just buying the crafted gear day 1 and going in, and you can kill
Yeah,
it.
and just
It's
pentamelding the shit out of it and going.
Yeah, it's supposed
Which
to be
we're going to talk
killed
about crafters kind of getting screwed in this particular patch on that in a second.
Yeah, so I think a lot of the people that come from this mindset, they're like coming from WoW, and another thing too is Final Fantasy people need to be a little bit better at taking criticism. I feel like a lot of people just want to swoop in to defend the game, and that's great. The game is awesome. I love the game, but we should also be able to have like a civil conversation with someone who has something they don't like, and I think that's a big problem that runs, and it's a social media problem too, right? Like everybody just wants to attack, but yeah, it's like I don't really have a problem with how they do stuff, and I don't really want. So I do think dungeons are definitely a thing they need to like figure out in game, like because right now in game dungeons are kind of a joke. So if like your content is just doing 4-man stuff that doesn't really exist in this game, unless you just want to run like Palace of the Dead and have it on high, and that's old and it's not even really that hard when you 4-man it. So we don't really have any good hard 4-man content, and I think that's a super valid criticism of the game.
Well, and we don't even really have all that interesting 4-person content to do when you are at max level. You can queue up for the Duty Finder and run one of, dozens and dozens of dungeons. But really, like if you're doing anything where you want tombstones and stuff like that, Tark, you've got to focus on whatever the current 2 experts are. And there you go.
I would say you don't even have to do that. You could do hunts. There's so many different options to get.
Right. But I'm saying if you are a person that wants to do that 4-person content and have it be beneficial to you in some way, it's not like, yes, there are dozens of dungeons in the game, but they are not what you're going to go do because they may be the 4-person content you want, but they provide no more benefit for you to go run, Stone Vigil or something like that. Even at level synced levels, it doesn't matter. It's pick 2 or bust. And there is I enjoy the mythic system in World of Warcraft. There are things that I don't like about it. But I do enjoy that when I go into an expansion in World of Warcraft, the dungeons that I'm even running as I level to get to max level, I'm still messing in those dungeons later when I am max level, because there is the difficulty scaling inside the dungeons that aren't so focused about sinking me down. They sink everything up. And I think that's where Final Fantasy, at least for me personally, has it reversed. I don't like being sunk down into content that even after being synced down, all you really did was take away abilities. I'm still overpowered. I'm still overpowered through the sync. I just can't use certain abilities. Rather than focus on, oh, you want to go run that dungeon as level 80? Go ahead. You want to go run that dungeon as level 90? Go ahead. You want to run that as a 60? Oh, you can't, because that dungeon didn't exist at level 60. It's only available from 70 through 90. I think would be a huge system-wide change that they're not going to do, and I accept that, and I'm still willing to play the game. But I'm also willing to sit there, like Chrono said, and hear the gripes and say, you know what? This is my favorite MMO on the market right now, and I agree with you. But it's still my favorite right now.
Yeah, and we've gone... How many times have we discussed the dungeons? And that's one of the biggest weak points of this game. You know, we all love the dungeons. Beyond the tombstones, like, what is the rewards for doing the dungeon? There's really not. The gear isn't useful for what you're doing it for. At the time it comes out, it's like a whole tier before. So it's not the gear. Tombstones is just the currency, which you can get by other means. So after you're done with the story, it's like you don't really need to do them. And that makes me sad, because I love doing dungeons. I love having some difficulty which isn't really there. So yes, for WoW's part, yes, I think they have dungeons on a better track than what Final Fantasy XIV does. And I just don't see them, making a wholesale change in the near future, unfortunately.
I don't either, but that doesn't mean that you sit there and accept that it's always going to be that way. I think as a team, they have to be considering other options here. Maybe not something to the extent I'm talking about, Kronos, where it's a full revamp of the way you do your entire duty system. I don't think they're going to do that. Maybe in a 2, a Final Fantasy 14-2. But if you look, the way Final Fantasy endgame stuff and gear goes right now, it is very Burning Crusade in World of Warcraft, where the dungeons drop these pieces, and then you do these dungeons to get these tokens, and go get these tier pieces sets. They're the Justice Marks or whatever the hell they were back in the day. I don't even remember. It is very Burning Crusade, and I like it. I'm okay with it, but it really, I do understand the cries of, if you queue as a level 90, there's really only 2 dungeons that are appropriate for you. That's it. Even if you forget the rewards, there's really only 2 dungeons that are level appropriate and maybe mildly challenging for you. We'll set the challenge argument aside, because we've beat that many episodes so far.
Yeah, it's like... So the thing is, if you're a hardcore player, like, not even really hardcore, if you like hard content in this game, you're almost forced to play 8-man content. That's what they balance around.
Yeah.
That's what they kind of throw out there. It's hard. They kind of scale it up. You have like your extremes, you have your normals, you have your savages. They don't really have that for dungeons anymore. I agree, it's like a weakness for sure, but I also am on the side of the fence where I think a lot of this argument comes from like character power level too. Like, they want to make their characters more powerful by doing these things, and I don't want the raid to be like my 8-man raid to be affected by 4-man content. And I think that's the issue they're running into as well. Is I think a lot of people are on that side of the fence that are raiders. They just want to raid, right? They want to log in, get their crafted gear, go do their raid, and then do that every week, and then get the gear, probably take a break, come back, right? Because that's kind of the way the game's designed. The game, unless you play like me, do like everything. they want you to like do what you like, maybe take a break, come back the patch you want to play, and you don't have to worry about feeling like you've fallen behind, because you can literally go to the market board, or you have like a friend that's a crafter and be like, okay, ready to go again, let's go. That's how the game is designed to play. And I think a lot of people miss the point where the real grind in this game, if you really want to play this game and dump hours and hours and hours into it, play multiple jobs.
Yep.
Level all your jobs and try to do all the hardest stuff on all the... That's what I do, right? Like, I'm like, okay, I've cleared with my group on warrior or paladin or whatever. Now I'm gonna go back in and I'll plug it on white mage. See the different perspective. That's the true grind in this game, and you don't have to do that. You could play your one job, but if you play your one job and you're done, like you feel like you've done everything, that's kind of by design. The
Yeah.
game is basically like, hey, you should probably take a break if that's all you want to do. So I do agree they need harder 4-man content, or at least more engaging 4-man content.
And something that Yoshi P said, hey, in one of his interviews, I think it might have been Asmongold's. I don't remember off the top of my head, where he hey, a lot of particularly North American players are asking for harder 4-person content. It's something we're looking at, but he didn't have anything to announce. So we'll see where it goes. Let us know what you think about the current endgame and honestly the eternal endgame of Final Fantasy XIV, because it's basically always been this way. They kind of ran into right after A Realm Reborn starting to do hard modes and then the expert roulette, and then they were like, no, this is getting way messed up. We're not going to do hard modes anymore. Here's the way it's going to work, and that's really the only change we've had to the system since then. Yoshi P did put up his New Year's greeting letter to everybody. This is a typical yearly occurrence over on the Lodestone. You can go check it out. Of course, he talks about COVID-19 impacting the team, remote working, and then talks about a few other things like the queues and, trying to do what they can there. He does give, as always, a little bit of hey, I'm going to tease the hell out of you guys, a little hinted dialogue. So this one says, so wanes the moon before the sun. Its journey ended, home at last. So look we now to days ahead, unfettered from our trying past. And honestly, some of these have always hinted at very specific things in the past. I feel like reading through this one a couple of times, Tark. This one's a little vague, more vague, I guess, than most, because it really just points to, hey, the past doesn't matter. Everything else is now a new adventure. Deal with it.
And I got that same feeling that it's kind of, that's done. We have a new dawn, for the sun. Home at last, everyone's back at home from their space adventures, and it's just a clean slate. They're going to do something brand new. They're not tied to any story that was done in 1.0 and what they set in 2.0. It's all fresh. It's going to be brand new, and I cannot wait for the next 10 years. It's going to be amazing.
He did take the time, Kronos, to reiterate, it's crazy to think that 2022 marks my 12th year at the helm of Final Fantasy XIV. Sometimes I can't help but be amazed that haven't gotten bored with it. But then there's so much more I want to achieve with 14. As I've previously said, I consider it my life's work, and I hope to continue developing and growing the game with you all. I don't like the word hope in there, but, I understand why he's putting it there. Just kind of reiterating for everybody, I'm not going anywhere. Shut up. I'm not going anywhere. Shut up. I'm not going anywhere. Shut up. Do you believe him?
I believe him. I do. Yeah. I do think there's gonna come a point where he's probably not gonna be there, and we'll see what happens then. But I that might be 5 years, 7 years, who knows? But yeah, I mean, for now, I'm just gonna enjoy what we have, and I'm hopeful for the next set. I have no idea what the hell they're gonna do. I don't think anybody really knows. I know some people saw the picture of this article where it's like him with the Four Lords, and they're like, Four Lords Ultimate, let's go. And I'm like,
I'm just saying, can I get that on a canvas on my wall? I mean, that's awesome.
Hey, any of you, because luckily, at least I'm not so far, any of you suffering from the audio issues that a lot of people seem to be getting in the game?
I
did you?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had my audio go out several times. It affected my sound driver.
Oh,
and then Soken had said, hey, we're doing a lot of updating in 601 on this front, but is it still good?
They did like a hotfix, I think, on it, like a slight hotfix. I haven't had the issue since then. The only thing I have now is my DirectX crashes every time I exit the game, but who cares? Like, I'm already done with the game at that point. Like, I don't care if it crashes.
Now, are you using the spatial audio, or are you just...
I'm not.
No, okay.
The only thing that kind of sucked was probably like after I had already beaten the story, my sound would just go out, and the only way I could fix it was to restart the game, and there's a queue, so I just played without sound. I wasn't logging back in and waiting 2 hours to log back in. So
Kronos, are you Or Tarkoth, are you gonna order your special edition Panasonic wearable immersive gaming speaker system? Try saying that 5 times real fast, by the way. Developed in collaboration with Final Fantasy XIV sound team.
I didn't know this was a thing. This looks awesome. I kind of want to get one for myself.
If you guys haven't seen it, I didn't put the picture in B-roll. It looks like an airplane pillow.
Yeah, it looks like
It looks like one of those your neck airplane pillows.
And the speakers are basically on your shoulders, so you have, basically surround sound. But
it's like putting on NFL football shoulder pads with speakers built into
them. This might be really cool because, I have a TV, but, I don't have like a sound bar, surround sound, or anything like that. If I could have something that I don't have to use my headphones, I could just sit on my shoulders and give me a good, audio experience, that could be pretty cool. And the fact that it's, 14 branded, thumbs up. I might look.
I don't know, man.
I might get this.
I don't know. I'm a huge audio and video file. I can just look at the office and look at the setup over there, and then the Blu-ray collection upstairs and shit. We'll do a tour sometime of all that stuff. Like, I'm huge. It's got to be, top of the line this, top of the line that. Well, it doesn't come out till February, so I don't have a price point yet.
They don't have.
I don't have a price point yet. February is the release date. February 20. It just says 2022. No specific date. I don't know. I know, yeah, Prismine, it has a mic in it too, but maybe I'll do the show with it. I'll just put it on here, get this mic aside, and just do it like that.
You have to,
I don't know. I don't want to suit up to play my fucking MMO, This is like, let's strap in, boys. It's time to go.
Every time I think,
not for when I'm streaming, it would be something that's off stream.
People were kind of pissed that they were marketing it though while having audio issues, and granted, those people got to understand they're different departments, right? that are handling these things, but still, it does come off as a bit, pardon the pun, tone deaf to be marketing your sound stuff while your sound stuff is causing issues for general players. Either of you impacted? Like, I don't do the rush crafting. I do craft, I do goldsmithing, make some money doing that, getting right side stuff for people. But I never partake of the .1, the .01 speed rush to make your left side stuff for you savage raiders. I know there's a lot of money to be made in that if you do it right and if you do it quickly. And a lot of people were prepping for that. But apparently these .01 patterns were substantially easier than what they have been in the past, leading to many more crafters, including some that might not be as skilled at making these types of items as in patches previous, were able to make these, which flooded the market board more than people were anticipating, which means people didn't make as much money as they were anticipating after they had spent all of their money pentamelding their crafting gear and everything to get ready to help you and your teams along, Kronos. Either of you affected by this? Did this hit the old Gil pocket book for you?
I had my crafters pentamelded. I still made money. It's fine. The people that are complaining have to be the people that have like capped Gil. Like, they don't even care. I still made plenty of money, and I still was able to give tips to people that I have that don't even craft, and like they were making money just buying like aphorism mats. I will agree, it's easier. I can literally craft.
Oh, it's a lot easier.
The newest pots I can craft with a macro in game with no food, no nothing, just my gear.
Oh wow!
And I can guarantee HQ on the newest pots in the game. Which I haven't ever been able to do that. I've always had to like eat food, and it's usually like a 95% chance or something. So it is easier. I think it has to do with the calculations because there's no more base high quality.
Yeah,
there's no more base
for the HQs.
Yeah, so the HQ, like just having one HQ item for your craft, just like it shoots up. So it's like if you have like one HQ pre-map, it's almost guaranteed pretty easily through a macro that you can make in the game. To make most of the stuff. So, I mean, and then the ones that have like 2 or 3 that you can HQ, like it gets even easier, which is like the most of the gear, like the left side and the right side stuff, you can do that for. but like you're still making money off of it.
So do you think this is something that's going to just basically correct itself over time then as we get a few patches down the road? Older HQ materials are leached out of the system. You know, the gathering and crafting professions have been changed in 6.0. Is this likely to balance out, or is it always going to be this, yes, it's going to balance out, but it's always going to be this little easier end of the spectrum than it maybe has in patches past?
I think it's going to always be easier. I think they might adjust how much HQ you get from just having like one item into your recipe. They might adjust that. They might not. But I think the good thing that comes from this actually is like gatherers are actually making money. Before, dude, you had to have a gatherer and a crafter to make any kind of money. Gatherers were getting the shaft. And gatherers are making like decent. Like I have almost everything at 90 now except for like 2. And you can make money off pretty much everything right now. And that might have to do also with just how many people are playing the game. And so there's a lot of people market boarding stuff and leveling stuff up.
Right.
But we'll see when it kind of like dies down a little bit if that really matters. I think right now, if you want to craft, like it's still, I think they're going to they'll bring the expert crafts back for the people that really want the challenge. Yeah. And those are kind of fun, actually. Like I did that toward the end of Shadowbringers. They're actually kind of fun. But like, I don't really think that this needs to be that much harder than it already is. People already macroed it anyways. The people that are complaining literally just have like 2-button macros. And they're like, okay, 95% chance to HQ, cool at HQ, put it on the market board, sell it for $1 million. And now it's like, instead of $1 million, you got like 600K.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean,
it's like, you still make gil. My retainers have more gil than me right now. That's how much money I've made like the last 2 days. So the money is there to be made. You can make money. It's there.
And me on the other end of it, I'm like, I'm just thankful that there is all this supply because I dropped 700K on pots and food for the raids. And I'm like, man, if this wasn't a supply issue, man, I'd be forking out like 2 million to make sure I was stocked and ready to go. So I'm feeling good about it from my end.
Tark likes the surplus economy.
I do. I do.
All right, let us know what you think. Final Fantasy XIV Endwalker, how are you enjoying it? As we start to, I guess details on 6.1 are right around the corner, right? Yeah, I mean they're right around the corner here. Not the patch itself, but details and starting to talk about it in live letters and stuff right around the corner here. Some other things. I'm sorry, go ahead.
When's the next live letter?
I don't think they announced it yet. Have they announced it?
No, I didn't see an announcement at least.
Okay.
Probably around February though. Probably.
Yeah, probably early Feb. A few things before we wrap it up, and I don't want to spend too much time on this next one. If we want to, we can bring this back next show. I really wanted to talk about Pandaemonium and endgame content today.
Sure.
So, chat, let us know if this is something you want us to talk a little more in depth on. Let us know in the comments on YouTube or over on ReadyCheckRadio.com, and we will revisit this in more detail next week. But we would be remiss if we did not mention that, President of Square Enix sent out a Happy New Year letter from the president as well.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year from Yusuke Matsuda. And along, the same lines as Yoshi P's talking about COVID and remote work and all of this, really spent the bulk of the letter talking about Facebook's conversion to the metaverse, what the metaverse can mean for future development, what blockchain can mean for gaming, what NFTs can mean for gaming, and really spent a good 6 paragraphs trying to sell this to you. Like, really, really spent this. We had talked in the past, Jens, right, about they had already said in annual disclosures that we're interested. We're investing in crypto blockchains and NFTs and stuff like that. But that was it. This was a letter directly from the president basically telling you we're doing it. And we're probably going to do it a lot because we think pay to earn and whatever the hell you want to call it is a huge future in gaming, which immediately drew the ire of many a Square Enix fanboy. It drew the same backlash Ubisoft got from Ubisoft Quartz and from all these other companies that are trying to get into crypto, blockchain, or NFTs, one, the other, or all three, or whatever. It drew ire. particularly from Final Fantasy XIV fans who are in a live service game, that it might be very tempting to easily integrate NFTs or blockchain technology into. People not happy. Tark, are you among them?
Hell no. This is awful. If they touch 14 with this, I might consider unsubscribing.
You're not alone. When you go look at Reddit, lots of comments. Some of them are like, hey, plus, if Final Fantasy, here's on the plus side, if Final Fantasy XIV adds NFTs, I might have a lot more free time on my hands.
Yep.
You're not alone. You're not alone. Kronos, I see you over there just shaking your head as I'm describing what's going on for the viewers. I left your camera up while I didn't even go to my solo shot because you were shaking your head so badly. I was worried you might pass out, and I wanted to be able to see you.
If they do this to 14, I will have a lot of free time on my hand. A lot of free time. Because
it's easy to say that. Like, it's easy and it's kitschy and it's cute to say that on the internet.
I know.
And tweet out, if you do that, I'm never coming back to your game. But in the real world, many of those people are still going to play. Many, not all, of course, but many of those people are. And so legitimately, setting aside those things, I honestly believe there could be good things that blockchain technology could do for gaming. The problem is we'll never get there. And I've said this on other shows, particularly MMO Bomb. The reason we will never get there is because you need a company that actually looks at it through a customer-centric lens, and they won't. They'll always be looking at it through the lens of how they can make money off of it by artificially inflating rarity and things like that. So I think it's interesting the applications it could have in gaming. I don't think we'll ever get there, though. That's simplifying my view on this, but in the interest of keeping it short, again, if you want us to get more into this, we can. Let us know in the comments. Would you really, let's say they added, I don't know, one NFT product in Final Fantasy XIV. It was the only one they added. It was a limited time achievement based, let's say. Something, I don't know. However you want to frame it. But that was it. They put one in there. Are you leaving the game, Kronos, because that one is in there?
Probably not. If it was like...
So there's a line somewhere.
I guess what I'm saying is, like, if it's, and I'll keep it short, if it's like forced on you in some way in the game, and it's like a lot of it, like, and not even really a lot, a decent amount, I would 100% quit. But if it's just like some optional thing or something on the store and it's just like a one-off or whatever, but I just get the feeling they're not going to do that. But I also have a good feeling that Yoshi P will probably not let this happen to 14. Because, I mean, you're going to get a lot of community backlash. But, yeah, I mean,
you'd be dumb really not to think you're going to get backlash at this point. Yeah. Every company, no matter how they have angled this one, Tark, as soon as they brought it up, their player bases went apeshit. I think what's most likely going to happen is it's not going to touch 14. I'm not scared of it touching 14. I think Square is smart enough, not even having to go through Yoshi P, but just smart enough as a corporate entity to go, that's too big a fan base. We don't even want to moderately play with pissing off a good portion of them. We're getting $15 a month from all of them. Leave them alone. And you know what? In our next MMO, in our next live service game, in our next this, we'll put them in there. The things that don't already have established fan bases paying $15 a month, that's where we're going to see it. I'm not all that worried about 14.
Is 16 too far along that they don't put this in there?
Could you imagine them putting that in 7? I mean, the whole point of 7, the whole allegory of 7 is the corporate monster doing something bad for the environment. Like, that is the whole metaphor of Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah. Cloud selling NFTs, dude. Yeah, that'd be pretty funny. That'd be super ironic.
And NFTs do have that. They're not all that, ecologically sound and everything like that. So, Square becomes Shinra, I guess, in that example. I don't like it. I really don't like it. What concerns me the most is how heavy-handed the letter was.
Me too. Yeah.
Like, when you said, hey, we're getting into it and we may invest in it, I thought, and I said that on the show, is like most companies are. It makes sense that you would look at new technologies and things like that. We'll see how you implement it. When I saw this letter and it was more than just, the second paragraph saying, this is what we're going to look into. It was the entire letter. It was really heavy-handed. And yeah, Justin quoting, we know some people like to play games for fun, but... Wait, what?
What do you mean, but? No, that's why we play.
That's the only reason I play
but,
games.
But we feel an opportunity to make more money off of you. So
That's it. So that's 3 thumbs down from us. All right. Well, we'll get to that in a minute to make it official. Speaking of other bad decisions Square Enix is making, at least what I think are bad decisions, you can pre-order the Strangers of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin Digital Deluxe Edition and other editions. But if you want to, that's great, because if you do pre-order the Digital Deluxe Edition, you can get 3 additional missions when the game arrives. Trials of the Dragon Knight, Wanderer of the Rift, and Different Future. We haven't talked about this on this show because we don't talk about Destiny 2 or Bungie on our Relic Grind show, but we certainly have on the Always Online podcast, which is tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern on Friday, twitch.tv/MMOBomb. If Tark's allowed to do it, I'm allowed to do it.
Oh, yeah.
But they've pulled this shit too, where 2 dungeons are being locked behind a digital version of the game. And here we have 3 additional missions, which granted, this is predominantly a single player game, right? Yeah, you're going to play through the story by yourself. So you might be thinking, Mike, who cares? Who cares? A digital deluxe edition of the game is 1, more expensive, and 2, digital only. And in a single-player game, adding missions adds story and content value to my product that I can only get if you force me into this edition. And I'm a physical box baby, which means if I want these missions, I'm buying 2. Because I'm going to get the physical edition of the game. That's just the way I do. That's how I do. And you gents are the same. What do you think of this, Tark? You tweeted you were not happy. You were not happy about this one.
Yeah, what I have it right here. I put, this does not sit right with me. Is this if Bungie can do it, so can we type of mindset? And it's absolutely poor from a customer service, consumer standpoint. Like, I understand DLC, but locking it behind, it's almost say that, it's attaching a DLC to an edition, but it's like, it just feels so grimy. I don't like it at all. And I'm like you. I want a physical copy of most of my games. You can see this wall. I love my physical media. If the servers go down, I can still play my games. So I think this is.
But you can pre-order right now from Best Buy and get that Steelbook.
Ooh.
But you don't get those missions.
I know.
Story content. Nope.
About it.
Nope. They have to backtrack on this one, right, Kronos? I mean, if you look at the Twitter reply, just the Twitter replies on this post, it was just person after person saying the same things we are. If we're locking these to pre-orders, it'd be nice if there was at least a physical deluxe edition that came with them. Bad move, to be honest, from Scary Will. Evidence of neglect. I guess it's a pass for me then, just on principle of locking physical editions out of story content. Shame on these anti-consumer practices. I'll play it if it comes to Game Pass. It's not. But that's it. This is as bad as online pass nonsense I thought we were past. Alpha 3, locking story content out of physical editions is scummy, to put it lightly. I won't be buying digital, and since I'm missing out on substantial parts of the game, whether they are or not doesn't matter to me. Small quest, big quest, doesn't matter. I don't think I'll buy the physical either. Pretty sad to see something like this done to Final Fantasy over and over and over again, Kronos.
I hope they backtrack. Maybe I'm saying, like, maybe this is a little boomer video game opinion or whatever. I just miss when we used to buy a game and that was the game. You got the game.
God, I miss those days too.
Oh, go out on your lawn and yell at the fucking clouds, you old man.
I will later, I'm sure. But it's... Oh, yeah, it sucks. I hope they backtrack it. And hopefully at least maybe you can just, like, upgrade your physical, like, once you put it on your system and you can, like, upgrade to digital deluxe for, like...
I hate that, too. Yeah.
It still sucks.
Were very specific.
Yeah,
it still
they
sucks.
were very specific, saying these will not be made available for purchase elsewhere.
It's terrible. Yeah, I mean, I hope they backtrack. I really do.
They have to.
Or at least an upgrade, here's your physical, you have your physical, here's an upgrade path.
Yeah, I hope that they at least give you that.
So it'll be a DLC at that point then.
Yeah, basically.
Okay, so we have before we turn it over to Faye tonight, who we've already delayed a little bit by starting late here. Apologies, Faye. We do have some Square Enix rumors, and these come from Jordan Midler on Reset Era, and it was published via Video Games Chronicles as well. So Jordan Midler, Reset Era. Jordan got some, get some stuff right. This is, again, they're rumors, but this is somebody that is confirmed. Like, they just literally talked about Ubisoft and Xbox, and that partnership got announced yesterday. So there you go. When it comes to Square Enix, saying it's interesting to see Ubisoft side with Xbox more and more with this gen, while Square Enix is firmly in Sony's camp, even beyond what's publicly known. It's a cool move, but I wonder what price we'll be looking for. Talking about Square, they are keen to keep putting everything on PC, even if the ports aren't all that great. See Final Fantasy VII.
Sad.
As timed exclusives, most of Square's stuff will end up on Xbox, but I wouldn't hold out hope for Final Fantasy unless something changes. Sony wants the PlayStation to be the home of Final Fantasy on this gen. Final Fantasy VII was supposed to be on Xbox by now, but here we are. They're doing this deal with Microsoft on Perfect Dark because it's guaranteed money. After Avengers flopped, they're far more keen to send off non-Final Fantasy titles to do that kind of thing. It's worth thinking about Square Enix and Final Fantasy Square and everything else as separate beasts at this point. So a lot of Sony and Square Enix are in bed. They've got a lot of titles that you don't know about that are going to be announced soon. TM, who knows when the hell that is. And when it comes to Final Fantasy, don't expect it on anything but a PlayStation until a timed exclusive lapses and it goes on PC. But if you're waiting for Final Fantasy on Xbox, according to these rumors, you're going to be waiting a long time for anything beyond Final Fantasy XIII at this point, Tark. What do you think? Title-wise, partnership-wise, where do you think?
I think it's all pretty valid. The way that the sands are coming and the lines in the sands, I don't like it. I don't like this separation. I think you should be able to play the games where you want to play them, whether that's Xbox, PC, PlayStation. I've never liked the tribalism that this whole thing kind of creates. I get it. It helps drive sales. Sony should just buy Square then, just make them first party. Part of their subsidiary. I love Square, and I own a PlayStation 5. That's the ecosystem I'm in. So I'm happy for my part, but I wish it was available to more people in a general audience.
So I'm with you on that front. It's easy for me in a very blessed position, which I am, to not care about this, right? Like, I have a PlayStation 5. I have the Xbox Series X. I have my PC. I have Game Pass. I have PlayStation Plus. I have Bajonga internet. Like, I'm in a very blessed position to be able to do that. One, financially to buy those things, and two, to be able to get them at the stores on launch day when I got them. So I'm not sitting around waiting for a PlayStation 5. So setting that aside, I'm with you. I like when things that I enjoy are available anywhere. So I can say, Faye, have you ever checked that out? Oh, shit, you don't have an Xbox. Oh, here, go to Steam and get it for Steam. Or boot up your PlayStation, get it from there, and then crossplay just makes that even better, right? Yeah. But at least being able to recommend something to Faye and say, oh, yeah, you don't have Xbox? That's cool. It's on PlayStation. And Noob Fridge Troy saying that's pretty harsh for the consumer. Devil's advocate on this one, though. If you are a Final Fantasy fan person, like those of you watching this show, didn't you resign yourself years ago to being a PlayStation baby when it came to Final Fantasy at this point? Like, how it's been a PlayStation thing since what, 7, basically? Yeah, 13, and some of the other ones have finally made their way to Xbox, whether it's digital or what. But, like, it's not a surprise to me at this point that they want to try to continue that partnership. It is a partnership that has existed for a very, very long time, whether it was official exclusivity or just timed exclusivity. But when I have never played a Final Fantasy on the Xbox except for Final Fantasy XI. That is the only Final Fantasy I've ever played on a console that was not PlayStation after the release of Final Fantasy VII Chronos. So is this really a surprise or an impact factor?
Surprise? No.
No. Yeah, I'm with you. I feel like we've been living in this world since like 1997, essentially.
Mhm.
I did play Final Fantasy 13 on Xbox 360, but that's just because I felt like that was a superior console to the PlayStation 3 back
I'd
then.
already beaten it by then. Yeah, I had played it on.
Yeah.
It was. Oh yeah, I'm gonna buy. Oh, it's available for Xbox. Oh shit, I didn't even know that. You know,
Right. Yeah, that's kind of how it is now too, right? I feel like it's like, oh, that Final Fantasy's on Xbox. I never even knew. For me, it's like, yeah, I do agree with you guys. I'd like everything to be on everything. I'd like everything to have crossplay. I mean, yeah, it would be great, but it's probably just never gonna happen, or at least not anytime soon. But yeah, I mean, I can't really say I'm even remotely shocked about it. It feels like it's already been in place for a while. Sometimes they throw Microsoft a bone, like on occasion. That's kind of how it felt to me.
Yeah.
So
one last thing I guess we should mention here is that there's a little bit of bad news on the 16 front.
Yeah. Sadness.
Message from Yoshi P on this one is not good. Basically, they lost about 6 months of dev time, an estimated 6 months of dev time on Final Fantasy XVI due to COVID spikes throughout 2020 and 2021. They've already wanted to do some more reveal of this game by now, but that has been delayed, and they are now anticipating by mid-2022, so probably around May, June, July-ish, in the summer-ish, seeing the next release of information for Final Fantasy XVI. So I was hopeful for a 2022 release. I thought we could squeak it in by the end of 2022. I'm a little less confident now. I think that's probably going to be a Q1 2023 title, and it's going to have crazy NFTs. You're going to love them. You're going to love them. Let me tell you about all the NFTs.
Thanks, Donald Trump, dude.
They're going to be amazing. They're going to be amazing. Yeah, well, I mean, Prismind E3 is right in that time period, so that kind of makes sense.
Spring.
Although Square may back out of E3 entirely and just do its summer showcase instead. So, you know, that's an option there too. So sad news on the 16 front. Let's slide over and do Love It or Leave It. Jesus, that was loud in my ear. It didn't look much louder on the stream. I hope it wasn't. That was really loud in my ear, though. NFTs in Square Enix games. Tark, love it or leave it.
Are we in the Oasis? Is this something that's going to be perpetually? Is that we have that kind of ecosystem?
Yes.
No,
let me explain to you in 7 paragraphs why we can do this. Why this is going to be
no,
great.
we don't have that kind of ecosystem. We don't. If we had a Square Enix Oasis, I'd be in there all day, every day, ignoring family and friends. You know, that's just how I am with Square. Leave it. This is awful. No.
Kronos.
Yeah, it's terrible. Leave it.
Yeah, I'm going to leave it too. I mean, it's a pretty easy one. Figured the first week back, I'll give you a softball. Demina wants me to tell you what I've been spending time in Final Fantasy doing. There were 3 frickin' minions that I didn't feel like getting in the last expansion. Well, 2 in the last expansion and 1 in the current one that I was like, I don't know when I'll get that. Because I'm not particularly fond of hunts. They're kind of boring. I don't really like hunt training. And so there were 3 800 sack of nuts minions that I needed to get, and I got 2 of them the past 2 weeks or past week here, and I'm like 400 out of the 800 I need for the third one. But she just wants me to let you know that I've been farming up sacks of nuts.
That's cute.
Yep.
Yeah.
I love that. When I stream.
She's very upset. Like, she had no idea when I walked out to smoke. She's like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm farming sacks of nuts." Like, not even. I wasn't even thinking that like she's gonna have no concept of what I'm talking about. It's like, "Oh, I'm fine. I'm in 14. I'm farming up sacks of nuts." And I explained it to her, and she's like, "Please tell me that you trade them into the nut vendor.
You do.
Like,
Yeah.
No, they're called Guild Hunt rewards or Guild Hunt Expedition vendor or whatever.
The clan Nutsy.
Yeah,
Man, nutsy.
she wanted it to be called the nutsack vendor, but it's not.
When I'm streaming out doing hunts, I'm like, I put emphasis on I need to go get my Saxon nut.
Yeah. Do you still need them? What are you farming them for?
I gotta get that mount.
Oh yeah, I don't care about that.
Other than that, I figure it's a good way to get materials.
That mount can lick my nutsack. God, it's a great show.
Oh, good.
Such a great show. We keep it classy here on Ready Check Radio.
Do we?
Chat, don't go anywhere. Up next, after being 25 minutes delayed, we're so sorry, Ms. Faye Death. How are you, Faye?
You're good. I'm well. Happy New Year, friends.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year.
Good to be back.
Did Santa bring you everything you wanted?
Brought me a lot of good stuff. Stuff that I didn't even know I wanted. I got a little mini drone, and it has this feature where it like reads hand signals. So to start it, you can just like toss it up in the air, and then you can. I haven't played with it a lot though, because the interns eat it. The eldest intern tried to eat it the first time I tried to use it. So.
Oh, nice, nice. What are we playing today?
Okay, so I'm going to try to start off the new year strong by finishing last year and hopefully finally get through this alien situation.
Alien Isolation. You got to be near the end.
I have to. Like, this game is, I know it's like longer, but it can't be that long. I have to be closed. I have to be.
Yeah, well, once you finish, though, you have New Game Plus, so you got to finish that, too.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Chat, don't go anywhere. We'll go dark for about 15 seconds when we're done here. Relabel everything. Get a new VOD up for Faye Death and the Aliens Isolation of the Isolated variety. We'll be back, of course, next Thursday with another episode of the Relic Grind. Don't forget, though, we will be live tomorrow, twitch.tv/MMOBomb, 1 p.m. Eastern for the Always Online Multiplayer Gaming Podcast. We've got a ton of great stuff there, including us making our 2022 gaming predictions. Sure to absolutely backfire. And then we'll be right back here Saturday with Gaming Gumbo at 7 p.m. Eastern. Oh, I do want to plug my boy's thing. This isn't mine, but this is a friend. And I'm loving here. Hold on. You think I would have been better?
Prepared?
You shut your mouth. I'm gonna give you my Sharona. My boy Eric Taylor.
Sharona.
Check out Twitter at MMOBuds, MMOBuds, BUDS, starting a community there for just people that love MMOs and social aspects of gaming, looking for, focus on bringing people together to play different games like that. So at MMOBud on Twitter, and you'll find the Discord and everything through there. So if you like social gaming, take a look. We'll be back next Thursday. Until then, Kronos, where can everybody find you?
Yeah, same as always, Twitter. I'm going to continue into the new year to complain about everything on there and probably talk about how White Mage is terrible. So if you want that kind of content, just follow me on there.
Didn't even get any love with the patch. It's sad.
No. Tark?
You can follow me at Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, all at Tarkoth Gaming. Tonight, we're going back to Savage, Monday through Friday. Leveling up content, trying to get to Omni 90. I got like 499 levels to get, so there's a lot to do.
I'm Mike Byrne. You can follow me personally right there at Magic Man 1, but more importantly, follow at RC Radio so you'll know every time we go live with one of our podcasts or one of our volunteer streamers who I love very much, or it's some Final Fantasy TCG. Until next time, gang, stay safe. We'll see you on the servers. Be careful farming up those sacks.